Hi and welcome to Grammar and Thongs, where today I'm looking at the semicolon. Nothing strikes fear into the heart of writers and students like the semicolon, the much maligned, misunderstood punctuation mark. So let's try and make it simple. There are three main ways that you can use a semicolon. The first one is to link two main clauses when you want to show the reader that those two things are equally important and they're closely related. Let's have a look at these two sentences. Chloe has a job. She is also in year 12 at school. Now you could use a conjunction to link these two things by saying Chloe has a job and she is is also in year 12 at school. But the semicolon gives us the opportunity to remove the conjunction and instead put a semicolon in here. And what it's telling the reader is these two things are closely related. Perhaps there are two reasons why Chloe is so busy. Chloe has a job. She is also in year 12 at school. So that's the first way we use semicolons. The second way we can use semicolons is when using adverbs such as however, besides, or therefore as a conjunction to link two main clauses. In this case, we have to use a semicolon. Let me show you an example. Jay was prepared. He hadn't sat such a long exam before. Two sentences. We could use a coordinating conjunction and a comma to make this Jay was prepared, comma, but he hadn't sat such a long exam before. But if we want to use the word however, because it's an adverb, we need to bring in the semicolon. Okay, because they would be two separate sentences, or they could be. So Jay was prepared, however, he hadn't, if I can fit that in here, he hadn't sat such a long exam before. So that's the second way we have to use semicolons. The third way we use semicolons is to separate items in a list when each item already contains commas. So normally we separate items in a list. We use a full colon to introduce the list, and then it's just commas between those items in a list. But if those items already have commas, then we can use semicolons to separate those items to make it less confusing. Let's have a look at this sentence and I'll show you what I mean. They brought with them. Here's our full colon to introduce the list, and here are our items. Camping gear, comma, including a sleeping bag, comma, torch and tent. So that's our first item, all of that camping gear. So now we use a big semicolon to separate that from the next one. Food supplies, comma, including enough meat for 5 meals. So that's our second item. And then our third item, and a small amount of money. So you can see these first two items have commas within them. So we need semicolons to separate those items in a list. Okay, so let's see if we can bring all three of these together into one final passage. A curfew was in place, the streets were quiet. So these are two main clauses that are closely related because the streets were quiet due to the curfew. So we're going to use a semicolon there, using our first rule. Travel was being restricted, however some airports remained open. This, however, is an adverb. So we know now that we need the semicolon and a comma. Travel was being restricted, however, some airports remained open. Here's our full colon introducing a list, and we seem to just have some items with commas. But there is a town in Texas called Paris, and that's what we're referring to. So instead of confusing people by having just these commas, we're going to use semicolons because some of our items have a comma within them. So we've got New York, first item. Second item, Paris, Texas, semicolon. And last item, Little Rock, Arkansas. So now the commas and the semicolons all work beautifully together to show what we mean in that list. And that's the point of punctuation, to make things clear. I hope that made it clear for you how to use a semicolon. Thank you.